12:32. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in 2026, the January installment of the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee. Let's do roll call and then the land, water, and people acknowledgement. Anybody dying to read it? Because I can do it. I'll read it. Do you want to do it? We'll do roll call first, and then I'll look to you to read the Dakota Land and Water and People Management. Let's start with Carrie.
Carrie Sheldon, Precinct G.
Eric Hendrickson, appointed by the Minnesota Council on Disability.
Daryl Paulson, Precinct F.
David Fenley, Chair.
Julie Sellner, Metromobility.
Scotty Carter, Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity.
Heidi Meyer, Minnesota CCD.
Doug Cook, Metro Transit.
Claudia Fugly, MNCCD.
Thank you, members present in the room. Do we have members online?
Patty Thorson from Trellis. Did you?
Do we have other folks? I can't see online, so I'm just winging it here.
Patty Thorson from Trellis.
Thank you, Patty.
Chris Lightfield from AARP.
Thank you, Chris.
No.
9, perfect, 9, we have exactly a quorum. I'm expecting a couple more people to jump in online as well. I will go ahead and read the Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement. So the Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land that we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homeland of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the forcible removal of the Dakota Oyate, the Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policy. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home. All right, I will take approval of the agenda. Anybody want to move that?
So moved.
Thank you, Daryl. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carrie. Any discussion on this month's agenda or changes? Yes, go ahead.
It's a weird question, but what, and I probably wasn't there, but why do you read that little letter, because I have no clue. I know we have to respect, certain nations and certain things, but how did it come about being part of this?
It's to let both the people who occupied this land before European settlers came in. It's to acknowledge that there were people here before, and that the travesties and things that occurred against them in the ongoing 400 years, I think. So it's something that I would say it's the bare minimum that any government institution can do to acknowledge. I think it's the first step, and then policies and procedures and actions that the Metropolitan Council takes on top of that are important as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat more with you afterwards too, if you want.
No, I was just curious because no one's ever mentioned it to me, or I've never heard the reason why. You just started at one meeting, so it's good to ask.
Yeah.
And our audience probably doesn't know either.
Thank you for asking. I think it's a history that everybody in this country should be more aware of and more respectful to. Any discussion on the agenda? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? Abstentions? Awesome, unanimous. I would also accept a motion to approve December minutes.
I'll for,
Thank you,
I
Carrie.
approve.
Thank you, Carrie. Moves. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Claudia seconds. Thank you very much. Any discussion, changes to last month's minutes? Yes, sir.
Yes, in December's meeting, you made an announcement in your chair update relating to the vice chair. And you suggested that anybody that wanted to be the vice chair send you a note or send you a acknowledgement. How many acknowledgements have you had to date?
This is the discussion for the minutes from December. Do you have any changes to the minutes from December? Otherwise, we can hold this question until member comment.
Okay.
Any discussion on December minutes? No? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Aye.
Abstentions? Fantastic. Awesome. Looks like we got somebody else online. Thank you very much. All right, let's dive right in. Who is first on the agenda today? Elizabeth Jones, yay. Bronze line, there you are. The newly dubbed bronze line. Please.
Bronze.
We've had great updates monthly from Daryl, but you are now here to give us the whole shebang.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, Chair. Hi, Committee. Good to be here. I'm Liz Jones. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Lead for what was formerly the Purple Line Project and now the Bronze Line Project. So I'm joined by my colleagues, Craig and Stephen. I'll let them introduce themselves briefly. Go ahead, Craig.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Committee. Craig Lamoth. I am the Council's project manager on the Council's portion of the Bronze Line moving forward.
Good afternoon, Chair Committee. I'm Stephen Smith. I'm the Ramsey County project manager for the Bronze Line.
Thank you both. Well, we're really just here today to kind of reintroduce the project to all of you, and with the note that after many years, and side note, thanks for following along with us, this project is finally in a place where we can move forward. And we're planning to start, we're kind of resetting and restructuring the project now, but so we have our new Bronze Line name, and we're just gonna go over a little bit of where the project is currently at. Later in the year, we will be getting some new staff and restructuring and resuming the design to move forward with the project. And we'll be planning to come and talk with you all more. And so we also want to talk a little bit about how we should plan to best do that going forward, but really just giving you a brief overview of where we are at today, letting you know that we are going to be moving forward and talking to you more, and just appreciate the time for a quick update from us. And I don't know, I believe Kevin said the remote might not be working, so we might have to, I think, just have.
There's a man behind the curtain.
Okay, perfect. So we'll just say next slide.
And we'll go to the next slide too as well. And probably next slide. And one more.
There we go.
So as many of you know, this project has a long history dating back to the late 90s. And what's represented on here is just recently, since the council's taken over leadership of the project, which occurred back in 2021. At that time, it was Rush Line, and we transitioned as we took the project over to Purple Line, and now we are, as was mentioned by Liz, we are the Bronze Line. So originally, not that long ago, in 2021, this was a 15-mile line from downtown St. Paul to downtown White Bear Lake, co-located with the Bruce Vento Trail corridor in the middle section. And then as we transitioned into the 2022 and 2023, we looked at a different endpoint and shortening the route, and ultimately landed on Maplewood Mall Transit Center, shortening it to about a 10-mile alignment, but still co-located with the Bruce Vento Trail in that northern half. And where we've landed today is a slightly different project, which is one of the reasons for another name change, moving from Purple Line to Bronze Line. We are now talking about a project that goes from downtown St. Paul to Maplewood Mall Transit Center. The southern portion, which we'll get into all these sections of the project in a little bit more detail so you're aware of what the Bronze Line is and isn't. But now the Bronze Line will be on White Bear Avenue and Maryland Avenue in St. Paul and Maplewood for the northern 5 miles of the project. Next slide. So what is Bronze Line? So this new Bronze Line is a reimagined and community responsive version of the project formerly known as Purple Line. We haven't been doing a whole lot other than talking to our partners for a better part of the last year to get us to this point. This new project will focus on improving transit reliability, primarily through about 5 miles of bus lanes, and then also enhancing safety along key corridors. There are several significant changes to this project compared to its previous iteration. This is about a 10-mile alignment now between Union Depot and Maplewood Mall Transit Center. It will have 22 stations, some of which already exist or will exist by way of other projects before we actually start construction. And then about half will be in bus lanes, various different types of bus lanes. So we will talk a little bit about that. So this is not going to be as straightforward, I guess, as the Gold Line, which is, all of the bus lanes primarily in Gold Line are all in exclusive roadway, only to be used by the bus. And then it will also include 2 new bridges. Next slide. So I will take a step back and say, first and foremost, we are very excited as staff to be able to come here today to say we have a project to move forward with. There was a point in time where things didn't look good for the prospects of being able to bring a significant capital investment to the Northeast Metro. And as you can see by the metro system network that we're attempting to build out, not having a Bronze Line would have left a hole in that northeast portion of the metro area, the inability for us to be able to connect that portion of the metro to the greater metro system that we've been attempting to build out. Next slide, please. So this is a really important project to deliver. This project speaks to many of the metrics of why we do these kind of investments, why we bring major service and facility improvements to different parts of the metro area. This corridor has always been a strong corridor in terms of why this corridor was in need of better transit, and both in terms of both service and facilities. We've got about 61% BIPOC in this corridor, 17% zero-car households, 20% of the population living in poverty, about 11% of the population over the age of 75, and 38% below the age of 25. Also 13% of the population living with some form of disability, and 18% of the population with limited English proficiency. And even before the changes that came with the pandemic, where there's less of the orientation of the work commute from the suburbs to downtowns, this corridor was always about connecting places and connecting people to those places. This corridor has 12 schools in it, 5 healthcare facilities, and 2 libraries, just to name a few. Next slide. So I wanted to start off first with just reminding everybody of what they're going to see coming with this project. So while we'll talk about in subsequent slides a lot of differences depending on what part of the 10-mile corridor you're in, the one thing that will be consistent from end to end is what the stations look like. The same style of station will be delivered. These are intended to be full-fledged BRT stations, and that is a major piece of what the Bronze Line is delivering. As part of Metro Transit's network now, we're actually going to see service improvements coming to the Route 54, which this project, as I'll talk about, will be replacing part of that on the northern part. But for those who are familiar with Network Now, that is a service plan only. There are no associated improvements to facilities. And for those who are familiar with the corridor where the 54 stops today, most of them are bus stop signs, and there's a couple of shelters out there, and that is it. Instead, what you're going to see in this corridor after this project is done is what's represented on the screen here. Full-fledged BRT station with near-level boarding, heat, light, safety, and security features. And also, one of the other pieces that comes and is a major improvement, it's not just the physical facility itself, it's also where it falls within the hierarchy of Metro Transit for things like snow removal and daily cleaning. So BRT and LRT stations receive the highest priority for snow removal compared to any of the other stops we have in the system. We've got tens of thousands of bus stops in the system. We can't possibly prioritize all those to have instantaneous snow removal. But BRT and LRT stations receive that first treatment priority, and they also get daily cleaning, which we can't say is the same for regular bus stops or bus shelters. So the feel and the ease of use for customers of these facilities on this corridor after the project's done is going to be much, much different than it is today. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to go briefly through segment by segment what you're going to find as part of the Bronze Line project. So really south of Maryland in St. Paul, it's the same project that's been on the books since 2017. There's not a whole lot of differences in that portion of the corridor. So Bronze Line will start by building the 14th Street station because all the stations south of 14th Street and downtown were delivered by B Line or Gold Line. G Line next year will be putting in the 10th Street station that's shown on this map. So the first one built by Bronze Line will be 14th and then to the north. The other piece here is that the bridges have always been part of the project, but I want to emphasize those in subsequent slides a little bit more. But the other big piece here, because this has been the project that really hasn't changed since 2017, we're at about 30% design complete. So we've completed preliminary engineering for this portion of the project. Things are pretty much set. Next slide, please. Here's your first real big difference from the last time we were before here. This piece here was never part of Purple Line, or it was part of Purple Line in a much different way. So Purple Line was always intended to operate up Jackson Street through Mount Airy neighborhood and then turn on to Pennsylvania Avenue. But back when we were doing engineering 2 years ago, the anticipation was this was going to be a simple mill and overlay of Pennsylvania Avenue, which the quality of the pavement today is not good. And that's really represented by about the midpoint on the screen here in red. What you're seeing on the screen here is the complete stretch of Pennsylvania between Rice and 35E, which since Purple Line went on pause, the county has taken a look at the need for this street, which is their roadway, as a full roadway reconstruction, not a mill and overlay. So as part of that effort that's going on right now, they're getting to the point of selecting a preferred concept for that. This is going to be rolled into the new Bronze Line project. So while Bronze Line is only going to operate on about half of this in bus lanes, which was always anticipated, it's going to look very different than if you were to go back and look at the 30% design plans for Purple Line from 2 years ago. So this will be rolled in as part of Bronze Line project and delivered. And primarily it's because the timing of this, to complete the design of this little piece here and construct it, falls in complete alignment with the schedule for Bronze Line. So it makes sense to do it all as one project. Next slide, please. Arcade Street station location, there's been a lot of discussion over the years of Arcade Street. This has been one of our more challenging sites, trying to meet the expectations of the community, but also being able to deliver a station at this location. Just as a reminder, this is the preferred location. This is the location that we're moving forward with. That's at 30% design. We're continuing to engage with the community over how best to connect this to the Arcade corridor, which will still have the 54 running on it. So the 54 I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute about where Bronze Line would be replacing it, but along this stretch, it would still continue to operate on Arcade. Next slide, please. This is probably a better understandable representation of that previous image. That previous image was really a two-dimensional layout of what this would look like. For those who are familiar with this area, just off the screen to the right is Phelan Boulevard. So today, Knight Avenue, which is at the top of the screen, rolls down the hill to Phelan Boulevard. It's a pretty steep grade. Today, the bike trail, Bruce Central Regional Trail, does connect up through this area as we continue to show here. What we would be proposing to do is to fill in part of this area that right now is a hillside, and to be able to put a BRT platform in that connects to Knight Avenue about a couple hundred feet away from Arcade Street. And that would be at grade. So the platform would be level, it wouldn't be sloped down the hillside, it would be flat, and that's what's represented here. We are then building our first bridge, a BRT-only bridge, because this is the part of the guideway that is most similar to Gold Line. So between Arcade Street and Johnson Parkway, it will be a bus-only roadway running parallel to the Bruce Vento Trail, which is shown on this screen. What's not shown here is we've also been working with others to make sure we understand the need to accommodate other projects in the area. So Walk On TP has been working on daylighting the Phelan Creek through this area of St. Paul for quite some time. They actually are moving forward with the part that's just south of Lake Phelan to the east of this location, but that area underneath the bridge that's shown as brown grass right now in this image, adjacent to the Bruce Vento Trail, is wide enough to accommodate the daylighting of the future Phelan Creek in this particular area. And that area that's really between the BRT station and Arcade Street, we have the ability to fill more of that area in. We want to work with the community to understand if filling that in would provide better continuity and connection and integration in with the community along Arcade Street. So that'll be something that we will be working with as we advance design, is to figure out what that space might want to look like. Next slide, please. So at the other end of where the only stretch of dedicated bus lanes lies, this is over at Phelan and Johnson Parkway. Maryland Avenue is going up and down on the far right-hand side here, just to orient you. This is putting in a new bridge that used to exist there about 30 years ago as a freight rail bridge. Many don't remember that unless they are still living in this area from 30 to 40 years ago. But we'd be building a bridge that would carry the Bruce Vento Trail across Johnson Parkway as well as the busway. And that's shown in gold. And then the dedicated busway is what's in pink. That would be brought all the way up to Maryland Avenue, at which point it would stop operating as an exclusive guideway and would transition to side-running bus lanes that I will show in a moment. You can see here, I just referenced that Daylighting Creek project that's shown in green, coming off from the upper right-hand side of the screen. Lake Phelan is just off the screen here and comes down to just north of Elam Church. So that's the first phase of the Daylighting Creek project that is expected to be built this year, I believe. Going to the next slide, very similar to Arcade Street, this might be a little more understandable from a 3D dimension. This is an old rendering from 2019. The bridge is likely to look slightly different as we advance design. And this is probably the first stretch where design is at about a 1%. We had designed this bridge to 30% and then found that there were things under the ground that weren't necessarily represented correctly by engineering maps from those past projects, and we're going to have to redesign the bridge a little bit to look a little different than it is here. But essentially, this gives you an idea of the scale of that bridge. So this is going from west to east. Real Life Cooperative is in that background there. Next slide, please. Here's where the change really is, and this is all, so you'll see some images here shortly that would give you an impression that we may be further along in design than we are. We're at 1%. Very different than the south stretch, south of Maryland. So here, still in St. Paul on Maryland and White Bear Avenues, we're talking about 5 BRT stations that are essentially the 54 stops today. So then this stretch, the 54 would end at Clarence Avenue, coming out of downtown St. Paul, and then would be replaced by the Bronze Line going to the north on White Bear Avenue and on Maryland. In this stretch, Maryland and White Bear Avenue are going to be fully reconstructed. These are both county roads, so back a sidewalk to back a sidewalk, so that's a big difference from the previous project. We didn't have any roadway reconstruction as part of the Purple Line previously. And this is to do a whole host of things that I'll show you on the next slide, but it's one, to accommodate side-running bus lanes in this stretch, but it'll also do way more than that as well. So we can go to the next slide. So one of the things we heard when we were doing the route modification study over the last year is we were considering possibly having the bus BRT alignment be on Maryland and White Bear is that first, before we even talk about transit improvements, we need to fix the pedestrian condition out there now. Maryland and White Bear are extremely unsafe. Traffic moves too fast. There have been pedestrian deaths along this stretch, and that needs to be solved for before you start coming to us and talking about transit improvements. And so that's what we heard loud and clear, and that's one of the main driving forces for the county taking the lead on reconstructing Maryland and White Bear Avenue to essentially address the inability to cross safely, particularly and not at signalized intersections, and that's what is represented by this image here. You see what the street looks like on Maryland existing on the left side. It's a two-lane cross-section, 2 lanes each direction with basically painted medians. So the only safe crossing are at the places that have signals today. Over on the right-hand side is what we're proposing. You'll see here the bus rapid transit stations. You'll see the dark cranberry red bus lanes. So we're taking basically the outside lane and converting it to a bus lane that can also be used by vehicles turning into driveways and out of driveways. So right-hand turning vehicles. But the intent is that this is not for folks just driving through the corridor to use. So you will potentially be ticketed if you're doing that. So you go into the lane, make your right-hand turn, and then get back out of the lane into the inside general purpose lane. But the other thing to call your attention to, you'll see the concrete median running now on Maryland Avenue. And this is to help facilitate at certain locations. You see that up at the top of the screen at that intersection that tees into, I think that's Phelan Boulevard teeing into Maryland Avenue. The ability to cross safely in marked crosswalks with signals that help facilitate those crossings as well. But the first part of that is being able to prohibit certain left turn movements all throughout the corridors. Putting these concrete medians in will allow us to do that. Next slide, please. Now this is probably the biggest piece because we had been looking at bus lanes all the way up to the Maplewood last year as part of the route modification study, either side running or center running with or without roadway reconstruction. And what we're doing now in Maplewood north of Larpenteur is putting in the stations we had been talking about, which again are the 54 stops today. We'd be simply replacing those with BRT platforms. But we would be operating in the roadway as it is today. We would be no bus lanes. We'd be operating in mixed traffic. There's essentially 2 lanes in each direction here today, north of Larpenteur as there is south. And there would be transit signal priority throughout the corridor, so we will be upgrading the signals to allow the bus to move unimpeded throughout the corridor. And then it'll be ending at Maplewood Mall Transit Center, where we'll upgrade that location to a BRT platform to accommodate the Bronze Line. And then we would be connecting additional services, some of which will come well before Bronze Line, like what's called out in Network Now, improvements to the 219 and the 223, all to be implemented by the end of next year, well before Bronze Line. In addition, there's going to be a Metro microzone, which I'm sure this group's familiar with. We've been starting to implement those for the last couple of years throughout the Metro area. And next September, the Maplewood area Metro microzone will be implemented, which would connect from Maplewood Mall Transit Center, connect to the hospital complex, it's not far away, as well as to points north of 694, including Century College. Next slide, please. So this just gives you an idea of what it's going to look like in Maplewood that I talked about a moment ago. So what you're going to see in Maplewood is probably more of what you may have seen as the B line and E line most recently were constructed. So what's intended to be shown here is everything in gray is being left untouched. So very few property impacts except at where the platforms are being put in. And we will upgrade all 4 corners of the station intersection locations where the platforms are going to be to make sure we are compliant with ADA and making sure that the improvements are not just on the 2 corners that the platforms are being implemented. So it'll be improvements at all 4 quadrants, but just at the 5 intersections. Next slide, please. So as Liz noted earlier, we're here, and at the end of today's conversation, we want to hear how best to engage this group as we move this project forward. And well, I mentioned we've been around in some form since the late 90s, trying to find a project to move forward with in this corridor. We're now to the point of knowing what that project looks like, and it's just a function of moving it forward now. That's still going to take some time, as referenced here on this screen. We're going to be bringing new consultants on board to help us design the project, and that is going to take a number of years. And then we'll start construction probably not until 2029 or 2030. And because this is a very different project than the former Purple Line, where we were primarily building it in a former freight rail corridor that happens to have a bike trail in it today, we're fully reconstructing many street segments, as I noted here, on Maryland and White Bear and on Pennsylvania, in a highly urban environment. So we're going to need to be very careful about how we stage things to ensure that businesses are not disproportionately impacted while construction is happening. So we do envision that this is probably a 3-year construction cycle, even though it's a much shorter quarter than the original project. And then hopefully we'll be up and operational in 2032. With that, I'd be happy to turn it over, Mr. Chair, unless there's questions for me. We have a few more slides to get to, but besides what the project is, we're also delivering it very differently, probably unprecedentedly compared to any other project we've already done in this region or are about to do in this region. And Stephen can cover that in a couple slides, but your choice, I'd be happy to pause and take any questions about the actual project.
Does anybody, yeah, Eric, go ahead.
Just a quick question. For the dedicated bus lanes that you're proposing or looking at, who's going to own that bridge, that new bridge? Would that be Metro Transit or Met Council?
Yes, Mr. Chair, committee member, the good question. So both of those bridges would be owned by the council, and then the guideway, the exclusive bus lanes between the two bridges would also be owned by the council.
Is there, and I can assume you guys already went through this exercise, a way to eliminate the need to construct a bridge? Such as, I'm just looking at the one that goes from Maryland, that exhibit on page 14 of the slides I have, where there might be potential access off Magnolia Avenue. I get that having a dedicated bus lane is, or bus lanes will add to speed, but at the cost of not just the construction of a bridge, but the perpetuity of owning and maintaining one?
No, Mr. Chair, committee member, that's a great question. And we were asked that same question probably about a year and a half ago, Liz and Stephen, I think, by the community and other stakeholders. Is this bridge really needed? Is there an alternative to this bridge? And so we ended up looking at, due to that request, a bunch of different at-grade options. And our engineers came up with some great ideas. We narrowed it to 3 great ideas, which we all thought were great ideas, until we went out and talked to the public and then some of our other stakeholders. And they saw things, because they live in the community, differently than we necessarily saw them. And so there were things pointed out with each of our 3 at-grade options that didn't work. And so as a result, we didn't move those forward and essentially have decided to keep the bridge in that's always been contemplated instead of replacing it with an at-grade option. But we did look at different options.
Excellent, thank you.
Heidi, go ahead.
My question is that you said the 54 is going to be redone, you know, or the you know how you get, because that goes to the airport and then to the mall. Is they going to change going down West 7th Street? You know, any ideas? Because that goes to the hospital. It's another way, choice. If I don't get one bus, I got another bus that will take me, because there's a whole area of medical that I use. And I know a lot of people with disabilities probably use, and they need some options besides, you know, taxi. If they can't take a taxi, they take the bus. If they can't take the bus, and if they are qualified for Metro Mobility, you know, what are the options? And will that change the timing of how long you get to the end result if you want to go to the Mall of America?
Mr. Chair, committee member, that's a great question. So in Network Now, that's really lays the groundwork for coming out of the pandemic and serving the travel needs that are different than they were pre-pandemic. Understanding most folks are looking for all-day service both directions that isn't oriented to having greater service in the 2 peak periods, but all throughout the day. The 54 today, which operates from Mall of America to Metropolitan Mall Transit Center through downtown St. Paul, as part of Network Now is proposed to be broken into 2 routes. The portion that would go from downtown St. Paul to Maplewood Mall Transit Center would become the Route 58. And the 54 would remain in name from downtown St. Paul to the Mall of America. And the reason for this is because today the 54 is twice as frequent, has twice as much service from downtown to Mall of America, and essentially every other bus trip is dropped once it gets to downtown, and only half the service gets extended to the east side up to Maplewood Mall Transit Center. We've recognized that it's now time to improve the service on the 54 east of downtown. But what's not necessarily warranted at this time is to match the service levels that are on West 7th Street between the Mall of America, the airport, and downtown St. Paul. But we need more than half the service that we currently have out there. So that is why we have to break it into 2 routes to be able to provide higher level of service on the 54 from downtown St. Paul east to Maplewood Mall Transit Center, and to do that between now and the 2027. You would see no changes to the 54 from downtown to Mall of America. And then that's what will be in place up until the point that we have Bronze Line. Bronze Line would then replace the 54 from Clarence on Maryland to across Maryland and up White Bear Avenue, but the 54, or that would be the 58 by then. 58 would continue from downtown up to Clarence Avenue along Arcade in Maryland. And so that would stay, right now is anticipated to stay even after Bronze Line comes, and actually H Line, because H Line will be providing more service to the Maryland corridor as well. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Yeah, but the other thing is, are you going to have really good understanding once this all rolls out so everyone understands? Because I understand up to a certain point, but then I got a little confused because that's a lot of information to take in 2 seconds. So are you going to, when it comes time to advertise it, are you going to make it very friendly user so we know the difference, you know, when to get off and when to get on, and how this is all going to work? It's not going to be, oh no, you get a call, someone's stranded, and now they're mad.
Yes, Mr. Chair, committee member. We'll go through our typical marketing campaign as we make this is a substantial change to rename a route. I make it more complicated because I'm talking about H Line and Bronze Line and the 58, which are all going to happen at very different points in time, separated by years in between. And so when we get to the point here in the next year and a half to 2 years of going from the 54 to the 58, which will bring better service to the east side, all that will be communicated to the customer as well in advance of actually implementing that change.
So website, telephone, and whatever else you market on the, you know, wherever you stand?
I imagine we'll be doing all those things, plus having our ambassadors out there as well, because this is a pretty big change.
And think about handicap accessible when you're doing reconstruction, because I've been in some really bad situations where now I don't even know where to stand anymore.
And I think that's probably one of the questions that Liz has on hers, is part of wanting to engage this committee, not just during the design process, but as we get to the construction phase as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members online have questions? I have 2 questions. I'll ask one now, and then I think one's probably better for the end. I'm understanding correctly that all major infrastructure improvements stop once you get to Maplewood, and then you're just doing the curb cuts and the platforms?
Correct. There would be no major reconstruction. The focus in Maplewood, north of Larpenteur, would be at the 5 station locations that are 54 stops today, where we would be moving most of those 54 stops are near side. We go to far side, as we typically do when we put the BRT platforms in. And then we'd be improving the curbs of all 4 corners of that particular intersection. So, and those would be, and then there'd be improvements at the Maplewood Mall Transit Center. We'd have to be integrating. Right now, those are all bus boarding area, typical bus boarding areas. We'll have to put a platform in there somewhere, BRT platform. And then it would be transit signal priority. So that would be very light touch north of Larpenteur.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would say definitely, maybe I should say this till the end, but I'll say it now. Definitely come back to us when you come into more novel or weedy access issues as you get further along in the design process. Yeah, no more questions. Please continue.
Good, Stephen. Next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about funding and also how we're going to deliver something that Craig was talking about. Again, Stephen Smith, I'm the project manager from a Ramsey County side. So I represent the Ramsey County side of the business. And so from a cost standpoint, Ramsey County, we are looking at paying for $340 million and really focusing that cost is in the red that's outlined, which is in St. Paul. So all the associated costs, all the infrastructure, all that cost is will be by Ramsey County. And then for Met Council, all the things that are in Maplewood really represented in that blue box, Met Council will end up covering in that portion of the alignment. This is something different that Craig kind of alluded to. The way that we're going about this is 100% locally funded. So that's very different from what we previously was looking at. So this is very exciting that we're able to do this. We went to our board, Ramsey County, to talk about this a couple months ago, and this was supported to kind of go with this approach. So great news there. You can go to the next slide. And then from a contracting approach, one of the things that Craig talked about is that a lot of the alignment is actually on Ramsey County roadway. So as we're thinking about doing this locally funded, we're also thinking about doing this a little differently. You heard Craig talk about the concerns of safety, accessibility. These are things that Ramsey County is very concerned about too as well, things that we're looking to approve upon. And so as part of that, we're looking to kind of separate up the contracts and kind of focus on those areas. So the county would we would have 3 different contracts. One of the contracts would be a county contract for the Metro Bronze Line, which is focusing on the reconstruction of those county roads. Really, the Pennsylvania Avenue, which Craig was talking about, Maryland, White Bear, these are things that are in county interest. So we are separating that into a separate contract. And then the transit component elements, Met Council will have a separate contract for that, but still doing it together. We all work in the Metro Square building together in one project office. We're still looking to still do that sort of thing and really stay connected. That third contract is a strategic communications contract and public outreach contract. That's something that will be held by the county, but we have Liz to really help support and lead that contract. It's really meant to be, knowing that we're doing this a little bit differently, it's meant to be that voice of the project, so we can stay united. So for the public, they see this as Metro Bronze Line, one project, not 2 different contracts and cause confusion. So having that third contract to really help be that voice and have Liz lead that contract is going to be great, and working with the businesses and things like that. So I'm really excited about the third contract approach. And then finally, the final bullet is just to say that we're still looking to kind of bring all the different contract designs together and deliver it as one package. So it's going to be one single package, and we're still working on whether or not it's going to be delivered by the council or is it going to be delivered by the county. That's a decision that we have time to still make, but that's something that the main point is that we're looking to bring this as one construction package together when it goes out. So I was just briefly going over both funding and just contracting approach. And like I said, this is very different, very exciting. We're all very excited to be able to move forward with this approach. But I'm happy, Mr. Chair, committee, to answer any questions.
Did I understand correctly? No federal funds, it's all local dollars here?
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool. Is that the first time this has happened on a project like this in the state?
Yes. Of this scale, some of the arterial projects under $100 million have, but nothing approaching this scale has been done without federal funds before, at least in this region.
Thank you. Heidi?
It's true.
Does the county understand, the people you're hiring to do this? Do they understand how Minnesota works and the roads and, that you're just not getting people just to be on it, do you know what I mean? Because there's been arguments sometimes with the county, like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They've never been in this kind of business before. So, is it qualified people that this is their job, they went to school for it, they understand all of this, to work with the other side too? I'm not trying to pick on you guys, but I'm just, It's just, you know, it's been in the past where, you know, the county sometimes, you know, gets kind of like, well, so I just wanted to make sure that they had the knowledge and they understand disability knowledge too when they're doing it and stuff, and understand all different kinds, not just the stereotypical types that they might think. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, committee, thank you for your question. Yes, I will be leading the bronze line portion for the Ramsey County side of the contract. We have our engineers that will be involved, that's been involved in different Ramsey County projects, and then our consultants will be evaluated through an evaluation panel. And when we go to select, these are some of the things that, in terms of making sure that we have a good body to help facilitate the work, is going to be very important, and also understanding ADA and all those, all the different solutions to making sure that we have a nice accessible environment is going to be very important to the project too as well. So we definitely want to make sure that we have knowledgeable people part of the project. And I would say previously too as well, working under just the purple line when we're in the design phase of like getting to that 30%, those are always things that we are making sure that it's part of the project, part of the design, and making sure that we have knowledgeable people in that area.
Mr. Chair, committee members, one other thing I would note along those lines, that's one of the reasons, not the only, for that third contract. So typically on these transitway projects, all the ones we've done to date and all the ones we are currently doing, typically public outreach and engagements, we get consultant support through the engineering and design contract. So it's typically a sub, oftentimes, to the prime firm that's there to do the design work, and they bring somebody on board. So it's kind of buried. And so we brought that back up to the service to address things, everything such as business impacts during construction, which has been a big deal on these projects, gotten a lot of play in the media, but also being more proactive about how we engage the community and recognizing each quarter is different, and this quarter in particular too is different. Everything from, there's a lot of renters in this corridor. So there's folks that flow in and out of the corridor who we may think we have talking to a certain geography of the corridor, and they are well versed and understand we're doing the bronze line, and then 12 months later we're starting from zero again because they've all moved out and we've got a new set of renters in there. So a whole host of reasons why we want to elevate up and be more proactive about engaging all groups to ensure that we're hearing from those groups and getting the input we need versus, and that's why we're broadening more to strategic communication and community relations, having an ongoing presence and pulse within the community and being able to get the feedback we need on an ongoing basis versus just when we periodically need it on a particular design question, but really being out there and hearing from folks on a more constant basis. And Liz could probably do a lot better job talking about that as well.
Sounds like a good transition to Liz. Heidi, and then we'll...
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
And also with your designs, are you working with the homeless population so it doesn't end up where some of the bus stops end up getting damaged? I'm not trying to put down the homeless people, but there are certain bus stops that really do see a bad rip. And then all your good work, people won't go there, you know, or they won't want to take the bus, or and then you wonder why you put all this money in, and then you find out why. You know, I'm just trying to say, just make it so everybody can enjoy it, no matter who it is.
Mr. Chair, committee member, that is definitely one of those items that are top of mind. This quarter also has, as you noted, homeless challenges in it. We've seen it even when we were doing work out there before we stopped design. And so it's a challenge in this corridor, and being able to, both from a design side, but also an operations side, be able to address the situation that you were describing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members online? Got to check in with y'all. All right, nothing. Take it away, Liz.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We can go to the next slide. And I will not focus, I have a couple slides, but I really want to focus on our discussion slides that I have put together towards the end. So I will just These couple slides here are really just an homage to our name change. So over these last couple months, we have been updating some of our project materials, the change from Purple Line to Bronze Line, and just letting folks know, very similar to how we're meeting with you today and giving you an update. This is essentially what we've been doing for the last couple months, reintroducing ourselves to community organizations and other groups and doing some pop-ups and community spaces and attending community events, just letting folks know we are the Bronze Line now. We are a project who is moving forward and confirming some of those details that Craig walked through with what does our project route and scope look like. So I won't go too much into that, but that was what we have been up to these last couple months. And again, here today to talk about as well. We've noticed if folks are able to view the map on this slide, that is a half a mile around the entire corridor. So we did notice folks in multifamily complexes, single-family homes and businesses around there as well, as our other events and activities. You can go to the next slide. This slide shows another image, again, just an updated material. So this, if folks have been out around the Bronze Line corridor, you may have seen some of our project boards out. So it is showing our new route map and showing our bus lanes in St. Paul and then our new station rendering in Maplewood. We've had these up in about 30 community spaces for a few weeks or for about a month, in addition to the community events and pop-ups that we've been doing. So leaving some project materials we have found to be really helpful in housing complexes, transitional housing, libraries, community centers, just so folks can kind of consume those as they're coming and going and leave any questions or comments that we pick up after a few weeks' time as well. The next slide just shows we have updated our website, so we are the Bronze Line now. We have a similar interactive map that we had previously, but that has also been updated with our new route. So folks can go on our website and it can kind of act as a map or kind of like a Google map where you can zoom in and kind of see some of the renderings that we have and leave any questions or comments behind that we can get back to you on as well. We have our new project email, so it's bronzeline@metrotransit.org. And then we do via that QR code or that link, surveymonkey.com/r/bronzeline is just a standing place where folks can leave comments or questions, especially while we're kind of in this interim area over the next few months while we're getting everything reset and restructured to really do a lot of public engagement kind of later in the summer and early fall. So we're still around even though we don't have our full team on board. And so the next slide, wanted to pose a few questions to this committee, and we can, I know we're getting close to our time. We can chat a little bit today, or we can definitely follow up offline with David, but really just want to make sure that we are engaging with you as much as you would like us to. We definitely want, now that we're in a place where we can move forward, we are going to be moving forward with design, particularly in the southern portion of the project where we're already at 30% and going to be advancing to 60%. We'll be getting into a lot of station access conversations. We want to make sure we're coming to you for that, but even on that kind of newer northern end of the corridor, where we are lower in design, we still want to make sure that we're talking to you to address some comments or feedback early in that process as well. So overall, just want to make sure that we are wanting to talk to you more and want to make sure that we're doing that in the best way possible to get good feedback and experiences from you folks. So a few of the questions that I put together was, how would you like to be engaged once we are back in our design? What's the best way to collect feedback from you all as a committee or individual committee members? Is there anything in particular that is helpful that you might need from us in advance of a meeting or offline to help facilitate that feedback? What do you find most helpful in discussing a large transit project like this? Because they can get very complicated and there's a lot of elements to it. So anything that we can help kind of ease that understandability. I know previously we have talked about potentially, going out in the corridor and doing kind of some tours or stopping somewhere for a specific location of discussion. And kind of to that point, if any folks would be willing to meet with us in a smaller group outside of this committee meeting or in person somewhere along the corridor, that would be really appreciated as well. So I know there was a lot of questions, and whether we want to kind of talk a little bit about that now or we can talk more offline, I'll leave that kind of to you, David.
So, yes, in short, I think we've had either on-site or small group or workshop setups for every single major project since I've been around, which is about 11 years now. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we shine the most, both in personal and professional experience, which I do have a lot of on this committee. So definitely yes to the last one. I think the top three can fit in both individual communications and also, come back in a year when you have some more station design and more nuanced questions like that we can provide feedback on. But like in the past, I think, coming to us and also updates, if you want, via email to folks so they can chime in, because I know there's a lot of interest on this committee. Did you have a question, Daryl? I see your hand. Heidi?
I just wanted to thank all three of you for your constant steadiness on bringing transit like this to this area. It's muchly needed. As you know, my family is deeply rooted in these transit projects, and we definitely are excited about the energy around the Bronze Line. We definitely have some concerns about mixed traffic and the signal priority, because we know with this being a totally funded local project, a lot of times accessibility, safety, security, all those things get pushed back to the end of the project. And in order to make the project as best as we can make it, some of those things that we talked about, safety, security, lighting, trash, all those things that we kind of think that Minnesota, nice, we'll just generally do it anyway, because we're Minnesota nice. We respect each other. We don't like our properties looking dirty or our bus stops looking dirty. We know that if only 349 bus shelters are maintained by Metro Transit and cleaned by Metro Transit, that means thousands of other bus stops are being maintained and being asked to be maintained by local and county governments. We know they're not doing a very good job of that. So one of the reasons my family supported projects like this was because of the BRT component. And that BRT component brought, let's face it, it brought a different class of travelers to our transit system generally. And so I'm just very concerned that a local project at this magnitude will lose some of those other things like safety and security. Heating is a huge element that I talk about, especially because we spend 6 months of the year needing heat in a system like this. And as you'll know, I do know when the weather got cold real quick, we did turn on our heaters real quick temporarily. And then when the weather warmed up again, those heaters were off again. So I'm wondering if we can just standardize some of that and make sure that even though it got a little warm and we turn them off, maybe we keep them on or we turn them on an early point of our season, and we just keep them on, just similar to like the Cold Weather Rule Act. We make sure it stays on during that period at least. And I mean, and we bring them down. We figure out a way to move them down so that people that are in strollers, people that are in scooters, people that don't move around because they can't physically move around, they need to have access to that heat too. And so those are my comments. Other than that, you guys are doing a great job. I love working with you guys. I hope I get the opportunity to work with you guys either through this committee or in the community, because we're definitely not going to go away. Transit is very much needed in this area. So thank you, all three of you, for what you do, and please reach out to any of us for further help as the project progresses.
Last word, Heidi.
Yeah, what you were talking about, David, we've done workshops in the past where you brought us to one of the buildings, you know, and then you had like a layout and you kind of showed us, you know, and sometimes you would do a mock-up where we can actually walk through like we're actually a part of the build. And then for Ken, we made it handicapped accessible because he's blind, so he can participate in a different way. So he knew exactly what to tell you because he does it in a completely different way than some people would think, you know, so that they made it so he can touch and feel. So that was really cool. We've done a few of those in the past, or they asked us to come to when we saw the end of the line for the one in St. Paul, down where they do the train time. The end, where we got to go and see them build the whole place up, you know, and we got to see our opinions and walk through. So we got different ways of looking at it. If you're willing to let us be a part of that, we can give you your opinions and ideas. We just need to make sure we can all get there and be a part of it. It's not an area where Metro can't do it or a taxi won't take us, you know? Because Ken takes, you know, different types of transportation, and then we all have our different ways of getting there. But we've done that, and that's really helped you guys build the future of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. I think that's a good wrap up. Oh, sorry, Eric.
To ruin that. Thank you, Chair. One quick question or answer that my thought is, what do you find most helpful in discussing a large transit project like this? Is, as David mentioned, at certain milestones when you come to talk about pads and actual, you know, bus stops and all that kind of stuff, just tailoring the information to accessibility. You know, we always like a project overview, but sometimes we might go down the track of what TAC or the Transportation Advisory Committee might be looking at rather than our committee, which is going to be specific on providing guidance on the accessibility issues. So as you're coming across anything, your designers or you guys, you know, have questions or thoughts about something, having kind of a list that's focused on that for these touch bases with our committee would be really appreciated.
Perfect.
That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you three very much for presenting to us on this. We're looking forward to having you back.
Thank you. Appreciate your willingness to engage with us more in the future. So thank you.
All right, Franklin Station renovation update. Yay. Liz and Kevin, please join us. Tell us about a station that needs updating.
Definitely true. On that note, let's get to it. Thank you all for having us back here today. You may remember we were here in August, so this is an opportunity to have an update on the project and where we're heading. My name is Liz Morice. I'm the project manager in engineering at Metro Transit.
And my name's Kevin Murray, and I am a community engagement specialist with Metro Transit.
Yeah, so we'll get started. Did this end up working? I think it did not, right? I'll just try it one more time.
You just have to say next slide. And
Okay, next slide. Okay, so we did our introductions. Our project update is next, and we'll have an engagement update. We've been doing a lot of really thoughtful engagement the last couple months. And then we'll talk about what's up next for the project. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of the station as it is today. A lot of issues. I think we're all familiar with issues with broken glass, shelters in disrepair, different areas of the station like the elevators that have been really worn out. Fortunately, currently, most recently, there was a increase in supplemental security at the station, and we're working on opening the elevator on the north side of the platform, if it hasn't been opened already, due to that security. So we're planning to have a supplemental security member in both elevators to be able to facilitate safety and facilitate the elevator use. So that's really great. But we can go to the next slide. This project has a lot of work to do. And we brought these project priorities to you all in August or September. I guess it was the first week of September. And we have made some updates to this. So we, first and foremost, have accessibility as a priority on this list to provide reliable, safe, and consistent access throughout the station area between the modes, customer experience and safety, and we explicitly added safety as from feedback from this group in our project priorities to put that up front. It's always been a priority for our project, but we wanted to make sure it was really explicit. We added neighborhood connection, and this is due to public feedback and what we've heard from community area members is really prioritizing how the neighborhood's connected to the station, not just in like the physical appearance of the station and having the community identity represented in art and in other, symbolically, but to make sure that connections to the neighboring areas are really strong. Providing better mobility, so mobility options and transitions in between modes. We've dug into some analysis around mobility at the station, the different modes people are using, and I'll talk a little bit more about that today. And then sustainability and resilience. So we sort of combine these two topics together, both environmentally sustainable and sort of like sustainability in the sense of fiscal and being able to maintain and sustain the station in a resilient way. And we sort of wrap those into one topic area to really build off of each other and sort of focus on those two things together. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So our design scope remains the same. We're replacing and rethinking the elevators on both sides of the station. We looked into an additional ramp or street crossing, and we are sort of doubling down on efforts on that. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more as the slides continue. The platform and canopy and components, wayfinding, warming area, and additional cleaning facilities for supplemental security and different cleaning staff at the station. And then siting a police touchdown space and bathroom, which would be designed and constructed separately. And then improving bike micromobility parking near the station, and adding cultural elements and place keeping to the station area. Next slide, please. So as part of the concept development process for this project, we've had internal design charrettes with cross departments at Metro Transit. We've been holding a number of technical advisory committees with Metro Transit staff, with Hennepin County staff, Minneapolis staff, as well as many different areas of Metro Transit. We had a meeting where we presented to rail operations managers to understand their focuses for the platform. The Franklin station is very important to the Blue Line for a number of reasons. The OMF is right there, as well as it's where the operators switch over. Typically when they start their shift, they're starting there. So thinking through how we can facilitate that and make that a better experience and just a better operational experience for everybody. So we've also been doing existing conditions. We conducted site survey. We've been looking at plans. I mean, Franklin Avenue is an old road. And there's many different tunnels and different projects that have happened around that station area. We've reviewed other plans and policies of the city in terms of transit-oriented development. We've been doing mobility data analysis, so looking at all the different modes and the way people use the station currently. Transit-oriented development coordination, so we've brought in transit-oriented development to talk through unused parcels in the area and the ways that this project can sort of be improved by transit-oriented development and how transit-oriented development could also support safety and community safety in the project area and customer experience. And then we've been working diligently on a sustainability memo where we're covering a lot of different areas of sustainability as mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So in terms of our mobility analysis, we looked at bus operations, the routes that we had there, the ridership that is at the station and the direction we see ridership. We tend to see about 2/3 of the ridership in terms of bus come from the west, and people are coming from the west, going to the station, getting on the train, getting off, and then going back west. But we do see some traffic coming from the east side of the Franklin station. We didn't see a ton of transfers between the Route 22, which is right there, and the station, but we think that that might be an area where we could improve access and improve the connection as well for the Route 22, which is on Cedar. We looked at the safety of the intersections in the area, policies that the city has around improving area intersections. And we looked at the number of people crossing in each area. What we saw is a really high number of people crossing from the west or going west to east on Franklin at 17th Avenue. And we also see many crossings per day of Cedar, both on the north end and the south end. So just to say that there's a lot of pedestrian activity in this area. Another thing we looked at was the number of people who are crossing underneath the bridge. So underneath the bridge, I don't know if folks have been to Franklin Station recently, but there's a median and it's been very fenced off. And so one thing we really wanted to look at is, are people crossing under the bridge frequently? Is there a need for a mid-block crossing there? And what we found is we looked at 24 hours of surveillance data, like on a random day, and we saw over 130 crossings mid-block, despite the fact that it's very unsafe. And so we see really as a priority for this project, also coordinating with Hennepin County and working on improving crossing options, both at 17th and Cedar and underneath the bridge area, to improve the pedestrian experience for people using the station and the station area. And then, especially at Cedar and Franklin, that intersection is a very high accident and a priority for towards Vision Zero for the city and for Hennepin County. So yeah, next slide, please. So we put together 4 different options that we really brought forward to the public. These include just a variety of different ways ramps could be oriented. So we have them, you'll see in the upper left side, ramps and elevators both on the west side of the station. And then we have the opposite in the one on the upper right side of this slide, and that shows elevators on the west side, ramps on the east side, oriented towards Cedar. Then we have another version of that includes the elevators and the ramps going towards Cedar. And then finally at the bottom, we have an option that has one ramp going towards the west, one ramp going towards the east. They are on different sides of Franklin, and then the elevators are similar to the ramps in each corner. So we put together over a dozen options and looked at different ideas, from moving the platform entirely to just changing a few things about the ramps, and really brought those out to the public and also heard about property concerns in the area and different ways people want to hear use the station. So next slide, please. Kevin's going to talk a little bit about the engagement we've been doing and sort of the way we've been conducting it.
Thank you. So just to talk about a little bit of some of the engagement highlights that we have had. So full circle, we've had some workshops. They had some workshops together in September and November. And they had about 40 participants, and many of them, the participants were from the American Indian community. We've also been at the actual Franklin Avenue station and had area pop-ups where we were there and distributed flyers to riders and other community members throughout the neighborhood, and for 3 days with multiple staff. We've had meetings with the community-based organizations, AICDC, AIOIC, NACD, and some others. We had an open house on December 2nd at the American Indian Community Center, and we had about 60 participants. It was about from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and we also did a lot of email outreach to the bike community, the transportation activists, and our neighborhood organizations. We've had some social media posts, and we also had a public survey that was up for about a month, and we were able to get about 125 responses, which was pretty great. We're in the process of doing some data analysis right now, and we're just waiting on some reports to come back to us, which should probably be at the end of next week, and we'll be able to share that out with the community as well. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about some of the themes that we've been able to receive from our engagement efforts. Safety and cleanliness is always top of mind. So community members, many communities want the station to be clean, pleasant, and to use and to feel safe, which includes more lighting, improved station security, fare enforcement, to activate the space around the station with events, maintain the cleanliness of the shelters, approach safety with empathy, provide access to first aid, emergency phones, and other tools to aid in crisis response. Community connections. Community members want the station to support and celebrate the surrounding community. Support activities such as open streets, markets, cultural gatherings, and interactive arts. Welcome the Twin Cities community to the culture and history of the neighborhood. Orient travelers to landmarks, businesses, experiences, and artwork in the American Indian community. And also to provide information about community resources to vulnerable community members. And to talk a little bit more about the amenities and art, community members want the station to feel welcoming and inviting, which would include more greenery, specifically native plantings, public art, including murals, sidewalk art, and sculptures, comfortable seating options, stronger heat lamps, community resource bulletin board, free libraries, charging stations, and clean restrooms and water stations. Next slide, please. So some of the highlights from the survey. Again, I mentioned that we had about 125 responses, and the survey was up between November and December. One of the first themes we had was customer experience and safety. Again, like I just mentioned, is #1 priority. We did garner a lot of safety concerns from the community. Station cleanliness was top of mind, drug use, needles, trash, et cetera. Safety was definitely a barrier to use for a lot of the individuals who took the survey. Ranked accessibility improvements. They like safer road crossings in the area, as Liz had just mentioned. Ramps in addition to stairs and elevators on both sides of Franklin. More reliable elevators. More seating and resting areas, and also easier to understand the signs and the announcements. Top improvements that are desired. Safer street crossings and walkways. Better visibility, which would include more lighting, fewer hiding spots or tucked away places. Staff presence, fare enforcement, security, and Metro Transit Police Department presence. More frequent station cleanings and the removal of hazardous material, which would include the needles and so on. Next slide, please.
So the good news is some of those things we can work on in the interim before this design happens. Things like making sure we're doing cleanings and removing hazardous materials in a timely way is something we can always improve on. And I think our internally at Metro Transit, something we're really interested in improving. So we sort of put together the engagement we had and what we heard, particularly from property owners, people who want to see really equitable access to the station. And we are looking at this as the potential option that sort of meets those needs. So it doesn't maybe on face value look a ton different from what you see now for the layout of the station. There's still a ramp in the northeast corner of the station. The difference is we want to bring that ramp down to Cedar so that people will have a more gradual access from the street there. We would also have a switchback where it's tied to the bus stop. Locate the bus stops near the platform so they're as close as possible to make that transition. Having an elevator on both sides. So basically keeping the bus stops in the same places that they are now and improving the ramp in that corner. Then we were looking at redesigning the elevators in the existing locations. So ways that we can make there to be better visibility, easier connection to the station platform, and just a more intuitive station use. So there aren't as many tucked away places, and there's better sort of eyes on the street in terms of that. And then, the elevator being designed with state-of-the-art technology that allows for it to be locked when it's not in use easily, and, better safety and experience for that. We'd like to add an additional ramp to the west, and we see this would likely be on the southwest side of the station. This would connect down to 17th. So again, having an easier, slower grade for people walking up from 17th or biking up from 17th. But we really need to do further visioning with the neighboring property owners and the community. We heard a lot of interest from the community about building and having TOD or having another site that really builds down to Franklin Station, or down to Franklin Avenue, especially on the west side. And so we want to work with the community to understand sort of what the vision is for that and make sure that our ramp isn't really precluding buildings down to the Franklin, and is in the best interest of the station area in the many years to come. So we're going to continue to work on refining that. We had heard a lot of support for the Metro Transit Police Department facility, and we see that likely a good spot for that would be the northwest corner of the station near the OMF. We see this as possibly a multi-purpose space, and it's something that we would design as the design wraps up for this station. In terms of pedestrian improvements, we also want to see an expanded sidewalk underneath the bridge, and continued design of a mid-block crossing and coordination for that as part of this project. And next slide, please. So some of the things we see could improve the station area at the Franklin level is we see that the existing bridge is very dark and it attracts a lot of unwanted activities. There's been discussions about, people being concerned about the integrity of the bridge because there's unwanted things happening underneath it. And then in general, people not feeling good about walking by. So what we see as an opportunity is really to expand the sidewalk in the sloped area of the bridge. The bridge kind of underneath the bridge, it slopes down to the sidewalk. So we see expanding the sidewalk, building up a wall so it's less accessible under the bridge, but has more room for people to be able to walk and roll in the area underneath the bridge. We think that there's an opportunity for much improved lighting. And we see that there have been a number of projects in the Twin Cities where they have done this, where they've expanded the sidewalk, improved the underbridge area, added murals, added lighting, and things that sort of also have community placemaking and make it a more comfortable experience. We also see a need for an improved bus waiting area. So for a very long time, the shelter at the Franklin Station for buses has been the elevator area. which, as we know, has been locked many times and is also, it's away from the bus stop. And I think from a user experience, it doesn't feel good waiting in there when you don't know exactly when the bus is coming, and it's a little, you don't feel like you're going to be seen, especially the time traveling between that. And so having a nice bus shelter waiting area that's closer to the bus stop, that has high lighting, high visibility, and has some of the amenities we expect out of frequently used bus stops. So another area to improve. And then continuing this mid-block crossing, so thinking about a safe way to do that. Okay, next slide, please. Some of the platform level improvements. So we want to have a canopy that expands as much as the platform as possible, to be able to create as much shelter as possible, and to be a more pleasant experience on the platform. In terms of fare enforcement, we heard a lot of feedback from people wondering if there could be better fare enforcement, wondering if we would be putting up gates, wondering all sorts of things. And we will definitely continue implementing the policies we've decided on as Metro Transit, and that is moving TVMs so there's a clear ticket vending machine, so there's a clear sort of station fare zone, doing signage and all that good stuff, and then continuing to have the same staff presence and increased staff presence with the supplemental security at the station. We want to improve sight lines by moving all the unnecessary equipment that's on the platform right now off the platform. So there are many different metal boxes. Some of them are in use and are very critical to the operation of the station. Some of them are really relics of the old artwork that was at the station and the old utilities needed there. So moving things that are unnecessary off the platform and placing them strategically in other areas that are more convenient to staff who are using them anyway is another priority that I think will help with the safety, experience, cleanliness of the station platform. Next slide, please. So in continuing with station area coordination, as mentioned, we were talking to Hennepin County about improvements at Cedar and Franklin. We want to look at curbside management and determine sort of if there's a drop-off area to be had at the platform level and the parking along Franklin Avenue. We want to look at connection to other neighborhood investments, and particularly thinking through how does this station create some kind of gateway to the American Indian Cultural Corridor? How are we working with the interests of the people who are developing the American Indian Cultural Corridor and really coordinating that? And then coordination with transit-oriented development, as mentioned. There are a number of small parcels and underused spaces in the station area that, unfortunately, because they aren't being used and aren't programmed, attract trash, have needles, have all sorts of other things that make the station area less safe, and also aren't really adding to the experience of users of the station. So next slide, please. And Kevin's going to talk a little bit more about our plans for the next phase of public engagement.
So as we continue through the project, some of the next steps that we will have in our public engagement efforts, we're going to share the feedback gathered. And like I'd mentioned just a little bit earlier, that once we receive more of the analytics from the survey, we'll be sharing those out. And it looks like we'll receive those again like at the end of next week. And we will be able to share that out with the community. And we just want to make sure that we heard you. We'll also continue to meet with community businesses and organizations. We'll conduct more pop-ups at the station and at other organizations throughout the community, and further flyer distribution. We'll also share the 30% and the West Ramp concepts. And we're looking to host another open house March of 2026. And you'll definitely get an invitation to that. And so March 2026, we'll have our second open house to where you'll have we'll try to make it more interactive like we did last time. You'll all be invited, and we'll just make sure that we have all of our updated information and feedback from the community that we gathered from the first one.
And I will add to this too, I think we discussed potentially doing like a station visit, even with this group, an invitation to like go and experience the station. And I think that after March, when we're working on our sort of between 30% and 60% design, will be a really good opportunity to do some of that, and hopefully the weather will be a little bit better and cooperating too. Next slide, please. So in terms of scheduling, we've finished our sort of visioning phase, and we're wrapping up that work right now, and we're beginning early design. As I mentioned earlier with the design that we showed as an option, we're exploring what that looks like and advancing design on knowing that we have a number of priorities in the area for different, for the ramps and the crossing. We will be wrapping up the 30% design and bringing that out to the public in February. And then at that point, we are going to present multiple options for the west ramp. Since that is the newest component of this station, we want to really make sure we're giving the public enough time to really think through that and think through the advantages of a ramp in that area. We will be going to detailed design, 60% design, and wrapping that up in May and June. And at that point, we'll also have the preferred ramp option for the west side, if there is one. And then wrapping up the design in late August, early fall, and completing the design for the west ramp at that point. Then we'll have a final design in the fall and bring this out to bid and construction. And throughout this process, we'll be continuing on ongoing public engagement. I highlighted here that we did have the TAC presentation in September, and we're meeting here again. So would love to hear when you would like to see us back again, if that's after we complete 30% design, or if it's more when we're at the 60% design point, or more detailed and have a little bit more detail to show you. So yeah, next slide, please. I think we just have a couple questions for you all. I wanted to know what you thought of the option that we shared today, and we want to understand particularly if there's anything we missed regarding the station design planning, but yeah, and also any questions that you have.
Claudia, go ahead.
A lot of the concerns that I see on here would be the same concerns I have. It's so important for folks to look at what's the option for the elevator. People are messing with that elevator that breaks them down, and there's no way to get up to the train. So we need to look at something like that to really make sure we have options. Safety. Take care of the sidewalks that are there. Get them so that they're safe to be wheeling around or walking around, because they're pretty bad. And so we need to clean up the sidewalks, and then the safety of the lights. We need to make sure that anybody who's vulnerable is going to be safe. And it's not just the vulnerable, it's everybody. We need to have safety for everybody. And so it's so important to keep an eye on just the safety issues. Thank you.
Sam Jasmine.
Go ahead, Sam. Welcome.
Hi, I'm sorry. I have been here for a while. I just had trouble getting in by the time roll call was. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about fare checks. Like, what does that look like? Are you checking people's tickets? Is it random? How often are you doing it? How do you do it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think there is a sort of system-wide presence effort that's happening across Metro Transit. And from a design perspective, our position has been to create designs that help support that operational effort. So there are trip ambassadors who are on the trains, looking at tickets, and there is a policy that Metro Transit has to enforce tickets, which kind of escalates sort of as offenses, people have different sort of penalties that are related to the fare enforcement. I think in terms of a big question I think we've gotten is should we have fare barriers like they do in other systems so that you really have to have a ticket to get into the system? And our department in engineering, we've looked at what it would be like to have a fare barrier system. And the reality is that because of the style of light rail system that we have with really low, the platforms are really low to the rails, it would be very easy for people to skirt a fare barrier. It would incentivize people to kind of go in the tracks and skirt around that. There's a lot of staff requirements and maintenance for fare barriers. Having to maintain those and then also have staff present to be able to help people through them who are users. So the policy that we looked at when we looked at how to improve the rail platform safety was that we would support incremental improvements to designs that help support the operations that we already have. So I would encourage, I think that, someone from TRIP and MTPD can talk a little bit more about how they go about doing fare enforcement. But I know when I'm at Franklin Station, I see people all the time getting off, Metro Transit staff getting off, talking to people at the platform, getting back on the train, asking people for tickets. I frequently use the train, and I have been asked for my ticket many times because it's not always obvious you're an employee. So going through that. Same thing with on the BRT, where people are paying for their fares before they board the bus. There's similar enforcement happening, and I know that they're constantly training in new people and really have increased their staffing a great deal. They're based out of the Target Field area, I think now, but they're frequently on the Blue Line.
Thank you, Sam. That was a good question. We are running low on time. I think, let us know, please, when the March open house is. I'll be there for sure. This is my neck of the woods. I have interest in this station. And also, I think a site visit before you settle on ramp location, just because I think you'll get a lot of good feedback from folks here as it pertains to how they interact with these spaces and where the ramp should go. But I do like the idea of adding another ramp here. But I think a site visit would be great. Before we get to the 60%, I think that's ideal, but I'll let you all direct that. I'm pretty sure folks would come. I'd be there too. Any last questions or comments from folks online or in the room before we move on? Yes, Heidi, go ahead.
My question is, because I know when I'm down at the U of M, if I get a little lost, because of how they're set up with the trains and the buses and stuff, there's some barrier walls, and it doesn't help to figure out how to get back to if you're a little confused and lost, So you're gonna make it so if I get off at the wrong stop or did something incorrect and I wanna correct my mistake, not saying I planned it, but it happens. It's not so complicated, and I'm now blocked by a big giant barrier or some kind of wall or some kind of whatever. Are you gonna make it so I can get back to the last stop I was at if I have to walk it? Because I have done this a few times where things just go right by me so fast, and then I should have been off down there, or I misjudged where I was supposed to get off, and now I'm like, no, ma'am, you were supposed to get off way down there, and it's like, oh no, just to fix the problem is harder sometimes. So can you think about that or work on that, You don't even have to be disabled to have this problem, but it has happened. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, committee member, thank you for that comment. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to make the signage more intuitive, to make the kind of access between things more intuitive. And I think that's a really great topic for us to think through as well at the station visit, just to sort of think through the experience of what do people feel like when they get off the platform. I know I've seen a lot of people get off and are unsure about which side of the street to go down for the bus. So that's just one example, but I know that there are a lot of ways the signage could be updated because it's pretty dated from.
It's not just the signage, it's more like how you lay it out sometimes too, because sometimes to get back, it's like I'm not allowed to do that, but it seems logical, but it might not be safe, or it just doesn't work. So then who helps me get back to that last bus stop or that correct spot? Or how do I fix the mistake that I made, that I got off the wrong stop, or I misjudged, my map, you know what I mean, not understanding it?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a really good thing to think through. I know, for example, at the bottom, the problem is that if you do, for example, get off and go to the wrong bus stop, you are met with sort of inaccessible crossing area. You can't just easily cross the street to go to the other bus stop. So an example of that would be, we're trying to, make the crossing of the street there safer. So as people do make mistakes, it's not so hard to overcorrect. But again, I would love to talk about that more, especially if we're at the platform.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, are we still doing in Minneapolis the boxes for the needles, because maybe if they wouldn't break into it and try to reuse them, maybe you could try putting like a needle thing, and maybe they can drop it in there for people who truly want to dispose it correctly and see if it even works or it cleans up some of your messes.
I'm going to jump in. That's a good suggestion. I want to move on to the next presentation to give them enough time, but that is a good suggestion, Heidi.
Bring that to your attention.
Sounds good.
Building on that, I really like the idea of incorporating services and community resources here. I know that government's working together when it comes to stuff like that. Jurisdiction, funding streams get in the way. But I think that from the December community engagement, like that's a major theme here. Like there needs to be more than just transit here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to that point, there has been a kind of a parallel effort happening where there's Allison Waka and Pam Steffen, who's from customer relations. They've put together a safety committee, sort of try to do cross many organizations and talk about these topics and sort of break down the barriers. So I think that's been really great for the station area.
Perfect, yeah. And I was intrigued by the 30% disabled, 60% folks of color too that you surveyed, those are high numbers.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And she says she'd take my idea.
That's because it's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you all.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Given that summer's right around the corner, and we love to have the State Fair come talk to us, by all means. I know.
Sorry.
We usually struggle to get any State Fair folks in close to the State Fair, so we get it done now. You can have the remainder of the meeting. Thank you for waiting and being patient. We appreciate it. Please introduce yourselves and take it away.
Of course. Thank you for having us this afternoon. My name is Christine Noonan. I am the marketing director at the Minnesota State Fair. I'm here with Blair Hunnicky, who is our marketing and guest services supervisor. And then Mike Hagan, who is our senior manager of operations, was supposed to be here, but he's a little under the weather. So we'll try and cover his topics as best as we can. The three of us are among 90 or so full-time staff members at the State Fair. And so we, along with many of our staff colleagues and departments, all work on accessibility. So it's an initiative that is woven through all of our departments, and I think hopefully you'll be able to see some of the results of that work this year. So at this point, I will turn it over to Blair, who's going to talk through some of the initiatives that we had in 2025.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us today. So we're just going to do a quick run through of all of the programs that we offered in 2025. Some of these were new things that we did. Some of these are things that we've been doing for many, many years and we're trying to expand on. If you have any questions, let us know. I won't spend too much time on them because I know we're all a little bit short on time today, but we just wanted to give you a rundown of what we're doing and kind of what we're trying to provide for guests, because we talk a lot about the State Fair being the great Minnesota get-together, and we really want that to be true for everybody and make it feel like a place that everybody can come visit. So next slide, please. One of the first things that we offer is the IRA mobile app, and this actually came out of a suggestion from several different guests who had used it through Metro Transit in the past or at other locations. brought it to us and we implemented it for the first time in 2024. And we'll continue to offer this again. So this is a mobile app that helps connect people who are blind or have low vision with a live visual interpreter, they like to say, to help them navigate around the fairgrounds. We know the fairgrounds is an extremely challenging place to navigate no matter who you are. So this is just another way that we're trying to offer some help for people who maybe need a little directions getting from point A to point B. As you can see here, our usage went up 320% from year 1 to year 2. So we're excited to see that grow, and we'll continue to offer it moving forward, and also continue to work with IRA to make sure they have the resources to help people get around where they need to. Next slide, please. We offer several different ASL services. We've had a roving interpreter program that has been a part of the fair for many, many, many years now. So this year we had 51 interpreters who participated in the program, and we expanded our services to cover programming from 9 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. this year. In the past, it had kind of stopped around 5 p.m., but one of the things that we did this year was a survey with a lot of different deaf guests and deaf organizations, and we found that, you know, they want programming later in the night. They want to be able to come after work like other people and still have some programming and shows that they can engage with. So we expanded that, and we had about 86 guests who used the service over the 12 days of the fair. For the band shell, we also offer ASL for those nightly shows. We didn't have any requests for that this year, but we offer that every year. And then for the grandstand, we had 5 different shows that had guests who requested ASL in attendance. Wow. Next slide, please. Our audio description programming is something that we've been kind of trying to expand and find the right fit over the past few years. So one of the things that we did was we offered some pre-recorded audio descriptions for pieces in our fine art show, which our fine art show is the largest juried art show in Minnesota. So we offered a QR code that guests could scan with the help of our staff or by themselves, and then it would automatically bring up a recording of a description of the piece. And we worked with somebody who does this at other art exhibits, the Guthrie Theater. She does live shows and plays and stuff like that too. So we bring somebody in to do these pre-recorded descriptions. So we expanded that to our fine arts this year, and then we've also offered it for the second year in crop art. And we had these QR codes scanned over 400 times. It's not exactly, perfect to say that every single person who did that was somebody who was blind or low vision, but it's an easy way for us to kind of offer that for people. So we're looking at maybe expanding that or tweaking that or kind of getting some feedback around this program moving forward. And we also offered the option to request audio description for any one of our shows. So within our 2 weeks, that's kind of how we do our ASL. If you wanted to have an audio descriptor there to do a certain free programming show, presentation, something, you could request that from us and we would arrange that. Next slide, please. Captioning. This is something we've also offered for a few years, and this one's also hard to know how many people use the service because so many different people like to have that live captioning in front of them. We have a seating area for people to sit and see that TV. You'll see on the slides here, this one is in our Coliseum at one of our horse shows. So we bring in 2 different captioners who either do pre-recorded captioning or live captioning for these shows. And once again, we'll continue to offer this moving forward, maybe switching up the programming to get something new in there because we've been doing these shows for a few years. So we always try to offer this at a variety of times and a variety of days so people can come and enjoy it. Next slide, please. Yeah.
May I ask a question concerning the captioning? Is there a QR code where the captioning is fed directly to like an iOS or an Android phone instead?
There is. So our captioner who does our live captioning, she has that service available. We have never used it before at the fair, but it is something that we are looking into. As you can see there, we bring in a TV for one of the captioning programs that we do. But we are toying with the idea of doing that. It's a unique link that then we just have to give to the guest and they go to that link and then the captions would be there. So that is something that we're looking into for next year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The Fraser Sensory Building is something that we offer at the fairgrounds with Fraser as a partner of ours. So they're a vendor at our fair, and they've been here for numerous years as well. And they offer a space where people can learn about their services, but then also kind of the back of this building that you see here is a sensory-friendly space. So it's a space where families, children, adults, whoever may need it can go in, and it's a calming space, has lots of fidgets and toys and calm music, low lighting to help people escape from the overwhelming nature that is the fair. So when speaking with them, they said they estimated about 1,000 people visit their booth daily, and 100 of those people use the calming space in the back. Next slide, please. Hometown Mobility is another vendor that we have at our fair for people to rent scooters and wheelchairs. We have had them for a number of years. We'll continue to have them as well. And just an interesting fact that we found is Gate 16 is the highest rental location for us. And in fair speak, Gate 16 is our transit hub. So that's where all of the buses come, and most of the buses come and drop people off there. That's our highest rental location. Next slide, please.
Question, where is Gate 16 in relationship to the Metro Mobility drop-off?
That is north of the Metro Mobility drop-off. So Metro Mobility is at Gate 9, which is on the south end on Como Avenue, and then Gate 16, the transit hub, is on the north end of the fairgrounds. But Gate 9 also has a Metro Mobility scooter, wheelchair rental location. So all of our major gates you can rent scooters and wheelchairs from.
Why do you think that Gate 16 was the highest rental?
It's a purely a numbers game. The majority of our guests enter that Gate 16.
So was it at the highest the year before that as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
The next slide that you'll see here is Momentum Refresh. This is a service that we brought into the fair 3 years ago now, and it is a vital part of what we do, and we will continue to have them for this foreseeable future. So this unit is a mobile unit that they bring in that is fully accessible, has a height adjustable adult changing table, a hoist, and then this year they brought a larger unit that then had a secondary side to it that could be used as a calming space for people with sensory sensitivities, or as a lactation space or a baby changing facility. We kind of had these two different services being offered in this building this year. And we saw a huge increase in guests that came here, not only to use those new services, but once again to use the restroom. So we had 817 guests who came through there that needed those adult size changing tables or the hoist. So we think they're an excellent partner. We're excited to have them back and continue to hopefully getting the word out about them and increasing usage even more, because then that means more people are just able to come to the fair and spend an entire day there. Next slide, please. And then we have a couple additional adult size changing tables at the fairgrounds. So in our family and baby care center, we had about 28 guests visit there. And then Kaibi Mobile Family Care is a sponsor that comes to the fair with, once again, a mobile unit. And they also offer an adult size changing table, and they had 34 guests. And we're really excited that in 2026, we'll have some adult size changing tables in our newly renovated Lee and Rose Warner Coliseum. So that will be kind of getting added to our facilities for people who need them this year.
So I saw that there's one on the Snelling end of the fair.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's going to be a new one in the Coliseum?
In the Coliseum, so we're doing a major renovation in the Coliseum, and with that, all of the restrooms are being renovated. So within that space, it's very exciting. There'll be a family restroom that then will have an adult size changing table in it. So it will not have the hoist or the all of the bells and whistles that Momentum Refresh does up on the north end, but it will have an adult size changing table on then the south end of the fairgrounds. And then as we continue to renovate restrooms around the fairgrounds, we'll continue to add them.
So that brings me to a good point. If you're putting in the adult size changing tables without a Hoyer lift, what do you think the chances would be if somebody slips or somebody falls off the table without having that Hoyer lift? I mean, my thing is, I just recently been in and out of the hospital last couple months, And I have a hard time getting them to even understand that when you need to put an IV in me, you don't need to put me back in bed to do that. So what I'm saying is, now that we have these adult-sized changing tables popping up, and people are seeing the benefit of using them, if you don't put the Hoyer lift in, somebody's going to lift either their loved one or their client on there and either hurt themselves or hurt their client and themselves together without that particular Hoyer lift. And with the Hoyer lift, you can make it so that you don't have to put it in every one of your spaces, but you do have to make sure that if one is available, you make that known. And then you could also suggest that we don't provide the sling.
Yep.
They provide their own sling.
Yep, that's how momentum refresh
That's
is.
pretty standard in the industry. But for somebody that doesn't have a sling, then we have to know where to get them. And maybe if there's a temporary place to get a temporary sling or a disposable one, maybe make sure that we know where to get that.
Yeah. And once again, that's why it's so important for us to have momentum refresh coming back every year, because they do provide that. Our changing tables that I will say are in family and baby care, they're adjustable. So they, can lower down as far as possible. So it eliminates some of that lifting as well. But we'll definitely take that feedback.
So the requirements surrounding adult changing stations, that was a slip, I apologize for that, is in building code. We just put that in last year.
Yep.
Yeah, so anything that's required.
Do they talk about the sling?
It was a long discussion. It was kicked down nationally and internationally too, about the safety concerns on both sides, both providing lifts and not providing lifts. But we can take this offline, and I can chat with you if you want about it offline. It's been something that we've been involved in, at least my day job, for many years. Heidi.
I use audio description when I go to the Walker Art Center or the Art Institute in Minneapolis. And I think you need to not just say certain types of people, only use it, because people with learning disabilities sometimes use it. But the only downfall I notice sometimes is that because I really can't read. When I go to certain exhibits, I want to be like the world's talking about it. I want to be a part of that world, but I can't read everything, and so there's more words on the thing than I'm getting in the whole museum. When I put the headphones on and I pay the $5, whatever, or they give it to me free, or I partially get it with my ticket. But make sure that you give us a lot of information, but not overload us, but enough to feel like I'm not being gypped. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know there's more words on there, because I'm able to see, and I miss out, And I know a lot of museums are starting to do this, but they sometimes just do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
It's just enough to make you happy, but not happy enough, because there's more going on than just. So I do a lot of looking, so I want to be able, if it's on my phone or if it's on a QR code, or if you give it to me, but if they provide it, then they have to change like the museums do, the ear pads, so it's clean for the next person and stuff. So be creative with it, because I think this would really cool. And then the other thing is the AIR thing, you talked about the mobile app, make that because people with learning disabilities, advertise it for them too that, can't read well but need some guidance, because I have to ask a couple of times sometimes just to figure out the state fair, but at the same time, me and my friend are having a blast.
Great.
And just so you know, my friend who wants to keep going, he has a disability, so we both kind of work on figuring out what we want to do, but sometimes we need that extra guidance. And if we can use these objects that you're representing, maybe we can further. And if you want our help, come back and ask us. We'll be willing to guide you and help you.
Yeah, we'll always take additional feedback to make these programs better. That's part of the reason why we bring in an expert to help us with our audio description too, somebody who does this full-time every day, because it's not something that we're familiar with necessarily. So we bring in an expert to help us make sure we're doing good descriptions that give people what they want. But we'll definitely take the feedback and we'll bring that back
bare
too.
minimum. I
Yeah.
want more, because sometimes I feel like, geez, everyone else is having a great time and I only get this much. And there's this big circle I can have fun with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a really good point, Heidi. I think you all are discovering this, that anytime you make something more accessible for a specific disability group, everybody tends to benefit. I like captions, you like audio description. I'm not blind.
Exactly.
Everybody benefits. I think you'll see kind of it's kind of cliche, but from the field of dreams, and if you build it, they will come. That's kind of what's happening. I see an exponential increase in both the adult changing station and also IRA usage, as you've seen. That'll probably continue year after year as long as you keep on pumping it out. People will start coming and using these services. We have 1 minute. I'll give Daryl the last question, and then I'll let you finish up. Oh, Sam too.
Yeah,
Sam, can I go to Sam and then Daryl?
I want to just say real
Go ahead,
quick,
Daryl.
I'm excited to hear that you said the deaf equity picnic.
Yeah.
That's the first year that they've had the picnic there?
Deaf Equity has had the picnic for a few years. We just recently got involved in the last 2 years. So we're continuing to look for more ways to do outreach like that. So we'll be at the Deaf Equity picnic again. Angelique Kessens, who works with us in a seasonal capacity, comes in and just provides some extra hands to get these things done. She is already really excited about hitting the ground running with doing more surveys, reaching out to more people, doing more things like Deaf Equity Picnic. We're looking at trying to expand our roving program with the ASL interpreters to add maybe some people who will help guide folks who need a little extra help in terms of being blind or low vision or have a learning disability. So we're looking at things like these outside organizations to really help us get all of these feedback, and we're trying to improve it as much as we can. So Deaf Equity is just one of those steps that we're taking, but we're looking for definitely more. Angelique called me the other day. She's got, I think, 4 more outreach opportunities on her calendar already. So if there's anything else like that that you think we should be involved in and be at too, we're definitely all ears for that.
Yeah, but I got another group for you to look at as well. So.
Go ahead, Sam. Last comment, Sam.
Hi,
then-
I just want to circle back and ask about the lactation rooms. Are they in restrooms or are they separate? And if so, then do you have a little separate space for people who are nursing as opposed to just anybody who's walking in and changing their child?
Yeah, we have a separate, completely separate building actually called Family and Baby Care that offers 6 different lactation rooms that are private for people to come in. And then Momentum Refresh offers that private space. And then that Kaibi Mobile that I mentioned, they also have private spaces. So all of our lactation spaces, the ones that we call out as lactation spaces, are not located in restrooms. They're all private rooms on their own.
Nice. Oh, good. And that was 8 of them then, right?
Roughly, yes.
Compared to what you said.
There's like TPT also offers
Yes, some
a
vendors
lactation
too.
space. KS95 Radio also has lactation station as well.
And it's not going to be abused, you know, like at the Pride Festival, the disability toilets sometimes get abused by just people with very little to no disabilities, you know. So you're offering all these cool options to us, but are they going to be used in a way that, you know, no vandalism? I'm saying the word right. You know, like no one.
Yep, our Family and Baby Care is monitored by staff, so everyone coming in there has to sign in. They have to say what they're there for. So we keep an eye on things. We make sure they're clean, make sure they're being used in proper ways.
And all the new handicap areas, you know, like the new things you're offering.
Yeah, Momentum is also staffed, yes, by somebody who,
That scares me when that happens. I
Yeah.
don't appreciate that.
Can you
And
give
one
us-
other thing, really quickly, can you make Google Maps look better for the state fair? They keep screwing up the pictures, so you can't really use them.
Make
Get on
Google
their
do
case,
something.
please, thank you.
And to remap it.
Yes, making Google do anything, that sounds like a high bar. You want to take us through, I think, of one last slide on transportation?
Yeah,
We're
if
already
you go to
over
the
time,
next,
so I'm going to put a hold on
I'll turn it back
questions.
over to Chris to talk about the transportation piece.
Okay.
So is deaf equity next? Okay, we already talked about that. So I'll just really quickly talk about some transportation options that we offer as well. We are seeing great increase in the use of our transit options. So this past year, more than 44% of fare guests arrived by some form of mass transit, and that was ridership of over 860,000. So there's a variety of bus systems that feed the fare. Metro Transit, of course, runs an express bus service, and that is free parking and then obviously riding for a small fee that drops off primarily at gate 16 that we've already talked about. Let's see, we have two other express bus partners as well, Minnesota Valley Transit Authority and Southwest Transit. Both of those operators expanded their service as well this year. Southwest added Labor Day service, and Minnesota Valley, or vice versa, expanded their hours. So that both resulted in expanded usage of those lots as well. And again, in partnership with Metro Transit and our express bus partners, a variety of accessible options for buses and for parking. So we're really pleased that more people are taking advantage of that. And I think that's reflected in the great usage and the rental at gate 16 as well. Again, that's where most of our buses drop off. We also, the State Fair runs its own park and ride service, and those are primarily lots that are closer to the fairgrounds. That offers free parking and free bus ride. The marquee service that we offer through that is parking at the Oscar Johnson Arena lot. That lot is reserved exclusively for people who have a disability certificate or a license plate. And then those buses are, they can accommodate wheelchairs, scooters, that kind of thing. It is exclusively, again, for people who need accessible parking. And then that bus also drops off at gate 9, which I think we've talked about before at this meeting.
Yep. I was saying yes.
Okay, great.
We're just agreeing with you, yes.
As far as Metro Mobility numbers, this year we had 1,711 people or rides that were that used Metro Mobility. That drops off at both gate 9 on the south end of the fairgrounds and at gate 2 on the north end. That is down slightly from 2024 when we had 1,800 people use Metro Mobility. And then lastly, of course, Uber, Lyft, and taxis are also always an option for people to get to the fair as well, and we have designated areas for that, again, for safety. So I didn't rush through, I wanted to rush through at least that, get the numbers out there, but.
Thank you. Well, I didn't leave you enough time, so that's on me.
That's okay.
Thank you very much. I think if folks have any additional things they want to say, we can do it via email or phone call.
Yeah, on the last slide here too has our email and our phone, if that's
Perfect.
just directly to the accessibility line, which is monitored year-round by us. And then if you want to sign up for email updates too, we've started an accessibility-focused e-newsletter as well, so that can be there.
Make it quick, Daryl.
The other question that I forgot to ask was, this presentation was light and day compared to when we've had you in here before, so I'm glad to see the presentation. It's great. However, I have a question. So are you only providing these services during State Fair time, or do you provide these services throughout the year when you do several other events at the State Fair?
Yeah, that's.
So the year-round non-fair events, as we call them, that are held on the fairgrounds, those are coordinated by those organizations. So for instance, back to the 50s.
Do you require them to incorporate some of these features into their events when they're out there?
The fair does not require them, but as we're all finding, I think those organizations that are taking it upon themselves to offer them and are getting requests for them know that there's a need out there. So I would say if you have a concern, you've been to an event and maybe they didn't have quite all the services that you would want, to reach out to those organizations and suggest that.
Since you don't require them, do you open any of your other, like maybe your new building that has the adult changing table, do you open that up to them in efforts so that they can see it use it, and maybe they'll agree to offer some of that.
Yep, possibly. Yes, it would have to be, within their footprint and then work out a rental agreement and staffing and that kind of thing. I will say we do program a kickoff to summer event over Memorial Day weekend, and that is a fair-produced event, and so we do offer not all of these services, but many of them.
Yeah, I would suspect so. I love the kickoff to summer events. We were there during the first year you guys did that, so.
Okay, we are over time. I'm putting a plug in this, or a pin in it, not a plug in it. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Looking
us.
forward to seeing you out there this year. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment? I don't see any members. Any members of the public online who'd like to make a comment? All right, cool. Are there any members? Oh, did I hear a yes from members of the public? We'll do member comment in just a second. Yes, online, if you're a member of the public, please go ahead and talk.
Yeah, this is Alex Lagoon. I signed up to give public comment, not specifically on the state fair. I signed up with Kevin. I was going to give a little talk on on-demand paratransit. I think we had emailed. I don't know whether I should go now or wait for any comments on the state fair to be over.
Well, we know we're done with the agenda. We're just finishing up our
Oh, okay.
the last few things. So yeah, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Got it. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah.
And give a little presentation?
I'm not sure if that's an option, but you can try.
Okay, let's see if it works. So I
Actually, it's probably better if you don't share your screen, given that we didn't have this information in an accessible format beforehand. So.
Okay. Sure.
So maybe don't share. You can email it to me or Kevin, and we can make sure that it's in an accessible format and get it to the members. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had I'll just at least turn on my face then. My name is I had signed up with Kevin, so I didn't know if there was anything else I had to do. My name is Alex Elagudin. I'm working with some advocates nationally about promoting on-demand paratransit service. Just for an audio description, I'm middle-aged white male with receding hairline. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm a quadriplegic, and I'm sitting in my bedroom on my wheelchair. I am the former head of accessibility at New York City MTA, the largest transit system in the country. I'm also the former head of accessibility at the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission, the largest taxi regulator in the country. And I've been working with a group of 30 agencies, transit agencies, working on federal policy to expand access to on-demand paratransit and microtransit programs for people with disabilities in generally. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits, and everyone knows. This is some things that you'll see in the presentation if for those that might be interested. Everyone knows about the rider choice, the same-day capabilities, and I really wanted to highlight things that we've seen in other cities, that this isn't just for riders. In terms of the flexibility, a lot of agencies have really appreciated the operational capacity increases by having on-demand providers and more kind of flexible providers through taxis, NEMAT providers, and kind of alternative non-traditional models. What I know that Minnesota Metro Mobility is already doing this through Carpool and Uzer, and that's great. Just to share some information from some of the largest cities in the country that are doing this, New York, the cost per trip when they instituted an on-demand model with some other tools went from $120 a trip to $40 a trip. The Boston, the ride, similar kind of cost savings, and kind of Chicago, LA, San Francisco, similar kind of things. I'm just skipping over some of the material in the presentation. One thing that I did want to note, just in kind of like, I know I come from New York City and national perspective, and I know that can sometimes be a turnoff for small regions, but a lot of systems are using more providers. I know you guys have 2. New York City has 6 or 7. Boston has more than 4. And that really helps to expand the flexibility and what riders get. And on-demand paratransit is not about reducing traditional service or taking options away. It's about customer choice and agency choice in terms of how they choose to kind of utilize the service and what it provides. I think you've seen some of it through the piloting or the program with Oozers and Carpool, but if there was interest in working with us as advocates who have worked with agencies across the country to bring models or ideas that work for Minnesota Met Council, we're here. I'm available. We work with Easter Seals and other organizations nationwide to kind of figure out the best models. I know you're using Spare on the Metro Micro program, which is more of a true Metro Micro transit program. But there's technology partners that work on paratransit as well in terms of on-demand service and how to work with 5 or 6 or 7 different providers and create the most efficiency. So
Hold on, just 1 second.
Too much time.
You have I can give you about 20 more seconds. We're already 15 minutes over our cutoff time, but so can you finish up with 20 seconds? This is actually a topic that is I'm very interested in, are the committee members. My email and phone number is on the agenda. Could you email me the presentation and then your contact information as well? This is something that I'd like to work on, but I do want to give you the last 20 seconds to finish up. But I do have to respect folks in the room time because a lot of us are catching paratransit rides after this meeting.
That's what I'm saying, Chair.
I'm going to waive my final 20 seconds in the hope we can talk more in the future. So thank you all.
Okay.
And I will definitely email you, and really looking forward to the conversation and talking to everyone else, both members of the committee, members of the public, disability community, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to give members time to comment too. I know there was maybe somebody who wanted to comment.
Chair, I just have one question.
Go ahead.
Last month you suggested that there will be a new vice chair, and you said you asked for anybody that wanted to be a vice chair to email you with their interest or and I wanted to know how many emails did you get, or how many requests of interest did you get?
So there will be an agenda item. We will settle this next month. We will determine who will be the vice chair next month through vote. But yes, there have been at least one person who's reached out to me.
At least one person?
Yeah.
Okay, so given that, I'll be on the record. I have emailed Kevin too, and put a letter in for my intent to be in that space as well.
Sounds good.
If you've not seen that letter, I can email it to you later today as well, if you'd like.
Please do. Thank you. Any other members have comment? Yeah, Claudia, go ahead.
I don't know if it's possible or not, but being on the list for like in the future is the new buses that are coming in that are replacing the North Star.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And also, who's designing the new buses? We need to have more than 2 spots. More than 2 accessible spots on a bus. Spring is coming around, and I don't want to be fighting trying to get in the bus.
All
So
right.
whoever's designing these buses, to find out why we can't get more than 2 spots.
Okay. Maybe we can have them.
Thank you.
Maybe we can have them come in. Any other members have comments? Heidi, go ahead.
Real quickly with her comment is to make sure that the handicapped seats are being used correctly so she can get what she wants and the people who truly need those seats are being used correctly.
Awesome.
We need to start doing that for the future of the
I took a note to have North Star come in. Anybody else online? Last comment. This is, I think, the longest we've ever gone over. I do apologize. All right, cool. We're adjourned. Thanks. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.